Hello, YouTubers. Here we are with my father. Yes, another one of Smitty's stories, and he's visiting an a lifelong friend. And your name is?
Marie Burwell.
From Renfrew. And she was about to just tell a story about Smitty, and I asked her if she would be willing to let us record it. So go ahead with your story, Marie.
At the kitchen sink, looking out the window towards the laneway, here comes a horse and a guy on it, and I looked and I looked, and I thought, that has to be Dwight Smith with a horse. And he come trotting in, and sure enough, there was the horse.
And Dwight Smith.
And Dwight was, what was the name of the horse?
Smokey's Joker.
Smokey?
Smokey Joker, yeah.
Smokey's Joker. Yeah, an Appaloosa.
Yeah.
And you were traveling around visiting.
Oh, just out for a ride, really?
Yes, with your horse.
Yeah.
Visiting friends along
Yeah.
the bar line.
Yeah.
And
Round up in Pembroke.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Round up got
Where did you start?
started from Cumberland.
So,
It's 101 miles from Ottawa to Pembroke, 30 miles from Cumberland to Ottawa. And I travelled primarily back roads. So I went up the bar line and through Osceola
Right?
and into Pembroke off of 41. And
what year was this?
1977.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't come up
Yeah.
with a year. No.
Yeah, that was, yeah. And then I went back down on my eastbound route. I went down the government road through Forces Falls and Beachburg and come out at Cobden.
Right.
And then went over to Douglas and down the Stone Road through Anderson and to Renfrew. And went from Renfrew to Burnstown through White Lake and Pakenham
All around.
and crossed the river at Pakenham and went down the north side to Almont. And from Almont into Ottawa and from Ottawa home. Yeah, back to Cumberland.
But you had to stop somewhere along the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. The first stop was at Glencairn, which is now Canada, at my brother's, Delbert's. And the second stop was just north of Stewartville, short of the Calabogie Road,
Oh, yes.
at George McNabb's. And then the next day I was in Renfrew, and I stayed for a day and a half at Mother and Dad's. And then I went up the bar line, and I stayed the night at a cousin of mine, Wilfred Peever's son, that lived on what I call the Dead End Road.
Yes, yes,
He's in there.
yes.
Yeah. And then went up through Osceola and stopped at George McNabb's on 41 Highway. And I spoke to Marg, and then I went ahead through Pembroke and back down to the East End Mall, where yeah,
No,
where Bill was, and then I went back over to his place and I stayed the weekend. That was Saturday afternoon, and I stayed the weekend and I left his place on Monday, and I was in Cobden at 5:30, and had gone down the government road to Forces Falls and out to Cobden. And I left the next morning, and I had lunch at the hotel in Douglas. And I was in Renfrew that evening. Yeah. And the next day, then I went to Pakenham and stopped at the Broodmare Farm.
The RCMP broodmare farm.
and it's off the highway a bit. And I came back and it got caught by a thunderstorm, and I pulled in to a little place just off right on the side of the road to a farmhouse, and stayed at the garage that they had till the storm was over. And I was unpacking then for supper that evening around 5:30 or maybe a little later. Yeah, it would be 6:30 I guess that evening. And then across the bridge, and they had directed me down the North Shore to a chap that I knew of but I hadn't met. And it turns out he was actually a carpenter, worked for the government, but he also was in the horse show business. He was competitor with the lad that I operated or managed the stable for at Cumberland. Yeah, yeah. And then that's when I wound up the next evening on Fisher Avenue, and I tied my horse. Everett Bacon was living there, and I tied my horse across the road just inside the fence on the experimental farm, on a corner post, and set up there. And it was black dark. It was 10 o'clock at night before I got there, and they were just leaving. They were heading out to. It was a Saturday night. They were heading over to a nightclub over on the Quebec side, and so I went to bed. They left. They got back. I don't know how long they were back. It was 2:30 or maybe 3 o'clock when Everett came and woke me up, and he said, "There's a policeman downstairs who wants to talk to you." I said, "Big tall fellow with a mustache." He said, "No." He said he's a gray-haired man and there's a young fellow with him. So I rolled over and back to sleep. And 10 minutes later, he'd back up. He said, "This policeman wants to talk to you." He said, "He wants you up." So I got up and came down. And this policeman said, "Do you own the horse across the street?" And I looked at him and smiled, and I said, "Should I?" He said, "It's driving the security on the grounds on the experimental farm crazy." He said, I said, "There's got to be Ken Laverty involved with this." And just then I heard a chuckle outside the door. And I went to the door and opened the door, and I said, "How are you involved with this?" I said, "Do I own that horse or not?"
Oh, no.
He said, He said, "I got nothing to do with it." He said, "I was on lunch break when they came to me." He said, "The RCMP are chasing themselves and the security is going nuts." He said, "They want to know who's put the horse there." And he belonged to the riding club that I belonged to, so he knew the horse.
Junction Riding Club out of Hammond.
Oh, that's...
He knew to look at. Oh, he said that's only Dwight Smith. He said he'll be gone. So, but anyway, he said just leave a little note on the post in the morning. So I got up the next morning at 7 o'clock, and from the bathroom I could look across the road, and just then the security pulled up with his lights flashing, and the lad got out, shut the door, then the horse stood up, and this lad looked all around. Because I'd said to Ken, I said, "How in the world did you find me here?" He said, "Well," he said, "we stood and looked at he said, "They brought me here to look at the horse," and he said, "We stood and looked at the horse, and then they turned around, and he said, there is that whole row of lights, or whole row of houses." He said, "There's only one house with lights on." He said, "What do you say we check there?" They had just come back. They were only home 10 minutes. from the nightclub. And I turned the lights on. They still hadn't got to bed yet. Oh, yeah. So I left there the next morning and rode over to Carling and was going down Carling, and right in the middle of the intersection of Preston Street, I was passed on the green light, and an RCMP car comes cruising along, northbound or westbound on Carling, and they stop right in the middle of the intersection. Whoa, want to talk to you. So, and just then the light changed, and there was a fellow on Preston Street, he wants to get through.
What an adventure.
I said, are you going to block traffic all day? No, he said, we'll make a turn here. So we did, it got off. They wanted identification. And they asked me, who gave you permission to put your horse on inside the fence? I said, well, man, you know, I couldn't leave him on the outside, tied to the post. Some damn fool would come along and untie him. Then he's a danger to everybody. I said, he was safe where he was. And I said, he wasn't hurting anything. And I said, he needed the rest. But anyway, they did put a file on it. I had a friend of mine in the RCMP that told me later on. He said, yeah, they put a file on him. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So when this young lad said to me, he said, who gave you permission? I said, at 9:30 on a Friday night in Ottawa, I said, what government employee is going to give me permission to tie my horse to the fence? He said, nobody. I said, that's who did it.
Golly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to him, hell, I was in at the broodmare farm and they'd have kept me there. I said, I've been there yet if I hadn't. Said, no, I got to get home. Yeah.
And we stopped in there today to see the babies and meet the new manager.
Yeah.
So that's
She knew
right.
the chap that I knew that was there at that
Oh,
time
right.
when it started.
Yeah.
Man, that place has changed a lot from 77.
Oh.
Yeah. It opened in 75, I think. They moved the horses from Regina, the broodmares from Regina to Ottawa, when they were discontinuing the remounts out on the west.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, everybody, officers out there then were issued patrol cars. Yeah.
There'd be more female drivers.
Yeah, riders.
Horse
Yeah,
people,
on the right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the two staff that were at that barn, at that stable, were female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of them had belonged to the Junction Riding Club at Hammond. Yeah. And that's the only reason we got in there, really, was because the sign says no visitors.
Oh.
But your father sold horses to them. So,
My dad,
and you
when he
had
was
been there
young,
before.
When my dad was young, in his teens, he sold remounts to the Northwest Mounted Police. Yeah. Yeah, before it was RCMP. Yeah.
Right.
And he
Well-
also sold the police horses to City of Montreal Police Department
And
and the
Bermuda.
Bermuda Constabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there's more stories in there, folks, or Smitty's stories. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll have some more to share with you. Thank you very much.